Hello, and welcome to Calm and Cozy Stories, a place where everyone can find calm and enchantment beneath the soft glow of the moon, right before drifting off to sleep. Tonight, we invite you on another journey through a captivating story, one that helps cultivate a sense of peace and relaxation. Before we begin, let's take a moment to gently prepare our bodies and minds for a soothing, restorative rest. Make yourself comfortable, and with each slow inhale and long exhale, allow the cares of the day to gradually slip away. It's not always simple to detach from the day's busyness, especially when bedtime approaches. But keep in mind, the less we worry about falling asleep, the easier it is for the mind to release tension. Let the steady rhythm of your breathing carry off any remaining worries, and let the story you're about to hear guide you into deep relaxation. Now, settle in and allow the moonlit atmosphere to softly embrace you. Enjoy this story, and may you drift into peaceful, restful slumber here on Calm and Cozy Stories. Imagine an ocean, impossibly blue, stretching fast towards a horizon ablaze. Sunlight fractures there, scattering gold across the farthest water wrinkles. Listen. Faintly, the cry of gulls drifts on the air, a counterpoint to the rhythmic sigh and crash of waves meeting sand somewhere unseen. An island swims into focus. Its heart is dense, a tangle of palms and secretive undergrowth, ringed completely by beaches of bleached white sand. Settlements, small clusters of dwellings, are hinted at, nestled so organically they seem grown from the land itself, their details lost to distance. From one such huddle of structures, a slender path snakes away, and here our thread begins. A warm breath of wind stirs the palm crowns high above. Your gaze follows, caught by the play of light on the tattered fronds, now molten gold, now deep, shadowed green as they sway. Sunlight, fragmented, dances across your face. You lift a hand to shield your eyes. Everything shimmers, possessed of an ethereal lightness, as if this moment floats untethered from the river of time. It is only you and the elements, intensely present, saturating every instant. The humid air presses down, slowing the day to a languid crawl. Seconds dissolve into the drone of unseen insects, the soft rustle of palm leaves, the persistent glint of sun against your eyelids. This place, you sense, holds itself apart, unlike any shore touched before. Secrets sleep here, awaiting discovery, perhaps by you, perhaps by another wanderer drawn to its enigma. The thought resonates, lending an unexpected weight, a purpose, to this otherwise aimless walk through the balmy afternoon. The trail ahead meanders deeper into the palm sanctuary. Fallen fronds, brittle and yellowed, accumulate in drifts along the narrow way. Sometimes they stray onto the path itself, yielding underfoot with the sound of thick, waxy cardboard crushed. The air hangs heavy, thick with aromas. Coconut sweetness and the tang of pineapple weave through darker, earthier notes of decaying wood and damp soil. And always, underpinning it all, the briny tang of salt and seaweed, a constant reminder that the ocean's vast embrace is never far. Here, The sea's presence is a palpable force, an invisible current pulling you towards its edge. Every walk taken on this island, you recall, has inevitably ended with feet planted on sand, gaze lost in the shimmering expanse of blue and green. Moments have come when the urge was almost overwhelming. To abandon the shore, stride into the welcoming water, and keep going, swimming, turning, surrendering to the turquoise waves, utterly free. You grasp why old storybooks brim with sea tales, chronicles of those who chose the ocean's shifting realm. Whether driven by romance, daring, or stark necessity, the decision to forsake solid ground for a life afloat holds a deep fascination. To imagine the groan of aged timbers underfoot, the sharp snap of canvas catching the wind. Pressing onward, you reach a bend where a palm has grown stubbornly askew, leaning its trunk across the path. A hand reaches out, tracing the rough, scaled bark as you step carefully over the angled wood. It is a quiet assertion. You are merely a visitor, passing through territories long held by these silent sentinels. They have witnessed countless journeys, heard the crunch of innumerable footsteps, and will stand long after your own passage fades from memory. As you move, a gentle prickle of moisture beads on your skin. The days and nights share a persistent warmth, a humid embrace that makes the occasional breeze a welcome gift. One such current whispers past now, cooling the back of your neck. For a fleeting instant, your mind clears, the dreamlike haze lifting. Palm fronds sharpen into distinct edges. The undergrowth flares into vibrant, complex greens. A fly buzzes past. Its sound startlingly clear, distinct from the pervasive, electric thrum of insects orchestrating their symphony within the trees. Beneath it all, a steady, rhythmic pulse, your own heart beating time. Close your eyes, focus, sense the life teeming in this shaded refuge, your own quiet pulse, the ceaseless insect choir, the rustle of some small creature moving in the distance, the lonely call of a gull. Then the breeze falters, and the trance descends once more. The muggy warmth settles like a blanket, muffling thought and sound into a subdued, living stillness. You and the elements, quiescent yet profoundly alive. Your feet continue their journey, navigating the subtle undulations of the path. Now and then, a dry frond crumbles beneath your shoe, or a patch of loose earth shifts slightly. Your eyes drift, unfocused, from root to foliage, to a sliver of captured blue sky, to a mound of damp leaves composting at the base of a trunk. Time slips by unnoticed amidst the whispering palms. But the trail abruptly ends, blocked by a dense congregation of trees. They stand shoulder to shoulder, impenetrable, obscuring whatever lies beyond. You halt, allowing other senses to sharpen in the sudden stillness. Closing your eyes, you draw a slow, deep breath. The familiar scents are there, pineapple and coconut, damp earth, decaying leaves, seaweed, but the brine is sharper now, more insistent. Your awareness follows that salty trail, and beneath the forest's hum, a new sound emerges, growing stronger, the resonant crash and retreat of waves upon a sandy shore. The beach must be close. Peering ahead, you spy a V-shaped opening between two adjacent palms, just wide enough to pass through. Bracing your hands on the rough bark to either side, you push through the encroaching greenery, parting the leafy curtain. Beyond the veil of vegetation unfolds a breathtaking panorama. A wind-swept beach, utterly deserted. Golden sand stretches away in both directions, meeting the curve of the horizon. Directly before you, the cerulean deep transitions into white-fringed waves that surge and tumble onto the shifting shore. An endless rhythmic dance of approach and withdrawal. You descend towards the water's edge. The damp sand bears the faint, darker outline left by a recent wave, a fleeting shadow on the shore. You trace its curve with the toe of your shoe, stepping back just as the next surge of water rushes towards you. As the water nears, you stoop, letting the warm flow rush over your fingers. Tiny grains of sand cling as the receding wave tugs gently at the shore. Straightening, your gaze travels down the beach. In the distance, a large, dark silhouette rests upon the sand. Shielding your eyes against the glare, you strain to see, but the details remain elusive, blurred by distance. Curiosity, now fully awakened, pulls you onward. With each step, the incoming waves lap at your footprints, smoothing the sand, erasing your passage. To an unseen watcher, it might appear as though you materialized directly from the sea, rather than emerging from the palm forest's shade. You fall into step with the ocean's breathing rhythm. The air here bites, invigorating after the heavy stillness amongst the trees. A sea breeze tugs at your clothes, evaporating the moisture from your skin, bringing a pleasant coolness. Gusts lift fine sand, sculpting miniature, transient dunes along the berm separating forest from shore. Each gust also whips the blue water into a frenzy of whitecaps. Even from here, you can see the deeper water churning, restless. Soon, you are close enough to discern features of the dark shape. It is unmistakably a ship, a large wooden sailing vessel of archaic design, beached and broken. It lists dramatically to one side, canted at an unnatural angle. Sections of the hull are visibly missing, planks torn away like shed skin. Where was it bound, this derelict? Who sailed aboard it? And what tempest or misfortune cast it upon these lonely sands? The questions hang unanswered in the sea air. Drawing nearer still, you begin to grasp its true immensity. Standing beside the hull, you feel dwarfed. Its dark timber, encrusted with salt, sand, and tenacious barnacles, looms against the vivid sky. You crane your neck, tracing the lines of the masts upwards. A portion of the keel is exposed. Reaching out, you touch the wood. The surface is coarse, abrasive, as if years adrift have imbued it with the very texture of the deep, transforming it from a creation of land into a creature of the sea. Thick clumps of dried, tangled seaweed cling like forgotten garlands, and heavy, frayed ropes dangle, swaying listlessly in the breeze. They look almost petrified, as if time itself has worked them into strange artifacts a beachcomber might collect. Methodically, you circle the wreck until you find the breach in its side, a gaping wound in the hull. Peering through the splintered opening reveals a glimpse of the hold, a shadowed space crammed with wooden crates, sturdy chests, and burlap sacks. Resting a hand on the fractured wood, a peculiar sensation flows through you, an undeniable summons to explore. It's inexplicable, a magnetic insistence emanating from the wreck itself. The ship, it seems, has chosen you. With a quick glance back along the empty sweep of the beach, you hoist yourself up and through the opening into the belly of the beast and begin to look around. Inside, daylight filters weakly through scattered holes and fissures in the ancient timbers. The air is still, thick with dust, yet paradoxically drier than the humid world outside. Faint, ghostly scents linger, the memory of spices, perhaps, or dried fruit, mingled with a sweet, almost burnt sugar fragrance reminiscent of stored grains or molasses. Many crates and chests are secured with heavy, rust-pitted iron padlocks. You investigate a few accessible sacks, but their contents have long since vanished or decayed, leaving only remnants: a shriveled lemon, hard as stone, a glass bottle, remarkably intact, sealed with a tight-fitting stopper. Navigating the dimly lit labyrinth of cargo, you discover a narrow flight of stairs, ascending to an upper deck. A curious certainty settles within you. You are safe here. It feels as though the ship itself sanctions your presence. Each wooden step groans under your weight, the sharp sound echoing unnervingly in the profound silence. A fleeting impulse urges quietness, as if not to disturb unseen occupants, but the rational mind reasserts itself. This vessel was abandoned long ago. There is only you, the silent cargo, the sand, and the sea. The stairs lead to a landing that opens into the crew's quarters. Old, musty hammocks hang limply from ceiling beams or are strung between support posts. Many are shredded, mere ghosts of bedding left behind after the wreck. There is little else to hold the eye, so you continue upwards, towards the next level, a deck open to the sky. The sudden brightness of the sun feels both blindingly harsh and warmly welcome after the ship's shadowed interior. Your eyes adjust quickly, and you begin to wander the weathered expanse of the main deck. You find the ship's wheel. The stout wood is aged and cracked, yet standing there, one hand resting upon it, gazing out towards the endless sea, evokes a powerful sense of command. Captain, or perhaps helmsman, of this spectral vessel. The thought sparks wonder about the lives entwined with this ship. What were their stories? From where did they hail? And where did their journeys end? Perhaps the answers are lost forever to time and tide, Surprisingly, the masts still stand, defiant against the elements. They are fashioned from massive, remarkably straight tree trunks, a testament to forgotten craftsmanship. A flicker of movement near the base of one mast draws your attention. Curious, you approach. It could be a scrap of torn hammock, or a piece of burlap sacking. But as you draw closer, you see it is a swatch of black fabric, rippling fitfully in the breeze. Carefully, you lift aside coils of thick rope and a couple of heavy metal hooks that lie partially covering the fabric, pinning one corner down so it doesn't escape on a sudden gust. Once freed, you use both hands to unfold it. What it reveals steals your breath. Stark white against the black field, a skull grins sightlessly above crossed bones. As the realization dawns, a pirate flag. A stronger gust wrenches one side from your grasp. For a moment, the flag streams out horizontally, just as it would have flown from the masthead, snapping taut in the warm wind. The skull seems to jeer, animated by the breeze, and you vividly imagine sighting this very emblem through a spyglass as the ship bore down upon you. Then, shifting perspective, you picture sailing under such a banner, this grinning herald announcing your arrival on distant shores. The wind subsides, and the flag hangs limply once more. Reverently, you fold it and tuck it back beneath the weight of the ropes and hooks. There's somewhere else you must find now, the captain's quarters. It doesn't take long to locate the door and push it open, stepping into what were clearly the most comfortable accommodations aboard. Light pours through slanted stern windows, illuminating the large wooden desk that dominates the room, a fine patina of dust coats every surface, and tiny, wind-drifted dunes of sand have collected in the corners. The wooden floorboards, though weathered, possess an enduring elegance, as do the tarnished brass light fixtures and the various nautical instruments. A sextant, a compass, scattered about. On the desk lies a stack of papers. You handle them with care, leafing through the brittle pages. Yellowed and fragile with age, many are already crumbling at the edges. You make out lists of cargo, names of ports, and what appears to be a roster. Crew or passengers, it's impossible to say. Whether these documents belong to the pirate captain or a predecessor remains another of the ship's secrets. Turning from the desk, you move towards a cushioned window seat overlooking the ship's stern and the vast, deep blue expanse beyond. If you were the captain, you muse, this is where you would spend hours, gazing towards new horizons, lost in dreams of adventures past, or those yet to unfold. Leaning against the seat cushions, you feel something hard behind you. Reaching back, your fingers close around a long, cylindrical wooden case. You carefully unscrew the two halves and slide out a rolled parchment secured within. As you unroll it, revealing its contents, a profound sense of understanding washes over you. This is what the ship intended you to find. In your hands rests a meticulously drawn map. Studying it closely, you see it doesn't depict some far-flung, unknown land as you might have expected. It is, unmistakably, a map of this island. And there, marked just inside the tree line, not far from your current position, is a bold, dark X. X marks the spot. For what, you cannot be certain, but an undeniable conviction arises. You are meant to discover it. Your gaze sweeps the room and lands on a long-handled shovel leaning against one wall. An odd place for such a tool, you think initially. Or perhaps not odd at all. Maybe this map, this hidden mark, was the very reason this ship journeyed to these shores countless years ago. Perhaps the crew was preparing to venture into the forest, shovel in hand, when disaster struck, wrecking their vessel. And somehow, in the chaos, the map and the shovel were left behind. With a final lingering look out the stern window, you turn, stand, and retrieve the shovel on your way out. Back on the open deck, you pause, struck anew by the haunting beauty of the derelict ship. In its prime, it must have been a magnificent sight, bustling with life and purpose, sailing proudly beneath the watchful gaze of its black flag. Carrying the map and shovel, you descend the stairs, past the ghostly crew quarters, down into the shadowed depths of the hold. From the storage area, you carefully navigate back to the damaged section of the hull and climb out onto the sand once more. While the solid ground beneath your feet is a relief, a faint shiver traces your spine, a residual echo of the strange magic felt aboard the pirate ship. Consulting the map, you locate a small dotted line leading from the beach into the forest, originating between two distinctly crossed palm trees depicted near the shore. You scan the edge of the forest, searching for this unique landmark. It doesn't take long to spot them. Two palms whose trunks have grown together near their bases, then angled apart, forming an almost perfect natural X. The sand immediately surrounding the wreck is soft and deep. Your feet sink with each step, sliding slightly down miniature slopes, leaving clear impressions. But the distance to the berm, the low ridge dividing beach from forest, is short. Stepping up onto it, you find firmer ground underfoot, littered with pebbles, dry sticks, and fallen palm fronds. You follow the tree line until you stand before the pair of crossed trunks. Bending slightly, you pass beneath the point where they intersect, feeling as though you're stepping through a hidden gateway. A small, deliberate marking on the right-hand trunk catches your eye. Carved into the bark is a miniature circle positioned directly above a small X, a simplified, symbolic skull and crossbones. You are undoubtedly on the correct path. Now, back within the forest's embrace, you notice the light has changed. It's considerably dimmer than earlier. Sunset is approaching, painting the sky beyond the trees, and shadows lengthen within the grove. A soft breeze sighs in from the beach, carrying a hint of coolness, keeping this edge of the forest comfortable. Looking ahead, you discern what might be a faint footpath winding deeper among the trees. Its direction roughly matches the dotted line on your map, so you follow it. Brittle fronds crackle underfoot, and the insects have shifted their tune, humming a softer evening song. Further in, the path leads you to a secluded clearing, a distinct grove of palms standing slightly apart. On the map, this cluster of trees appears to encircle the spot marked with the X. You approach the nearest tree, running your fingers over the rough texture of its bark. Just as you suspected, the same small carving, circle over X, is present. You move to the next tree, finding the mark again. Methodically, you check each trunk ringing the clearing. With every touch, every confirmation of the symbol, you feel the connection deepening to this enchanted place, to the mysterious purpose guiding you. Perhaps it's that same magnetic pull felt on the ship, amplified now by the tangible clues of the map, drawing you inexorably towards the center of the grove. As you step into the heart of the circle formed by the marked trees, you know you've arrived. There, on the ground before you, lies a large X, meticulously formed from carefully arranged pebbles of varying hues: gray, white, rose, black. The stones possess a subtle glitter, catching the last rays of faded sunlight filtering down through the palm canopy. X marks the spot, you murmur aloud, the sound absorbed by the quiet woods, feeling the solid weight of the shovel in your hand. You pause for a moment, absorbing the quiet beauty of the forest, appreciating the artistry of this simple, ancient sign laid out by unknown hands. You don't know who carved the marks or drew the map, but you offer a silent thanks for leading you on this unexpected, enthralling quest. The insect hum seems to intensify as your focus narrows on the pebble marker. Lifting the shovel, you position its pointed tip in the center of the X and press down into the earth. The digging begins. Seconds stretch, marked only by the rhythmic thud of the blade biting into the soil. The warm air settles around you, close and still, and you feel the familiar prickle of moisture gathering on your arms and neck. A light breeze rustles the palm fronds overhead, a teasing reminder of the cooler air waiting on the nearby beach. You'll return there soon, but not before finishing what you came here to do. Then a different sound, a sharp, metallic clank. The shovel blade has struck something solid, unyielding. It jars slightly in your grip. Setting the tool aside, you kneel beside the shallow hole. Using your hands, you brush away the loose soil, uncovering the object. A large wooden chest, reinforced with heavy iron bands. The familiar scents, coconut and pineapple, damp leaves and brine, flood your senses, anchoring you firmly to this place, this moment. Taking a deep breath, you grasp the lid, and with a protesting creak, heave it open. Inside, gemstones, gold, and silver coins glitter and gleam, catching the dusty shafts of light that penetrate the forest canopy. Piled in one corner are old papers, yellowed and brittle, some tied with decaying leather straps. Garnet rings, and emerald-studded necklaces lie jumbled amongst tarnished silver buckles, loose pearls, and golden doubloons. And there, resting gently atop the glittering hoard, is a delicate glass bottle, tightly corked, with a rolled message visible inside. You cannot decipher the words. The parchment is rolled facing away from you. As you carefully lift the bottle, something small inside shifts, striking the glass with a faint jingle. A piece of jewelry, perhaps, or a single coin trapped within. As far as you can discern, you are the sole possessor of this secret knowledge. It is an understanding shared only between you and the island itself. Only the droning insects and the silent, watching palms have borne witness to your discovery today. You carefully place the message bottle beside the hole and gently close the heavy lid of the treasure chest. Your secret is safe, you whisper, the words meant for the island, the ship, the long-gone pirates, or perhaps only for yourself. Then, taking up the shovel, you refill the hole, returning the earth. But instead of perfectly recreating the pebble X, you rearrange the stones, adding a small circle of pebbles above it, mirroring the symbol carved into the sentinel trees. Gathering the shovel, the map, and the glass bottle, you make your way out of the palm grove, ducking back under the crossed trunks. You retrace your steps along the tree line, descend the sandy berm, and walk across the soft beach, back towards the looming silhouette of the pirate ship. Climbing once more through the breach in the hull, you ascend the creaking stairs, returning to the captain's quarters. There, you leave the map and shovel, perhaps where they were found, perhaps resting against the desk. Then, drawn by the fading light, you head back out onto the open deck, just as the sun begins its final descent. The sky along the western horizon burns crimson, feathered with streaks of deep orange that bleed into the darkening blue above. You stand at the railing, absently turning the small glass bottle between your fingertips, listening to the faint, intermittent jingle from within. Someday, perhaps, you will uncork this bottle, unroll the parchment, and read the message, when you feel ready for whatever new adventure it might herald. And someday, too, you might return to the forest, to the marked grove and its buried treasure, when the time feels right. But for now, this is enough. To stand here, breathing the sunset air aboard this phantom vessel, listening to the ancient groans of the wooden boards beneath your feet, imagining the sharp snap of black sails catching a phantom wind, feeling the profound, untamed freedom of a life lived upon the sea, gazing towards endless, beckoning horizons. Sunlight spilled, incandescent, across a day of flawless splendor. Cerulean heavens stretched vast and unblemished, their profound blue perfectly echoed in the ocean expanse below. The water itself seemed to luminesce, an inner magical light shimmering where the sun kissed its surface. For this moment, the sea's face held an almost impossible stillness. The wind, a mere whisper now, allowed the waves only the gentlest procession towards the pale sands. Their arrival was a balm, a steady, tranquil cadence washing ashore, retreating with a soft susurrus. Advance and recede, a hypnotic pulse set by the tide. At first listen, the rhythm felt immutable, each wave a perfect echo of the last, arriving, departing. Then, a fleeting surge in the breeze stirred the water. Waves swelled, their voices momentarily amplified. Though the cadence held its regularity, attentive ears could discern subtle shifts, delicate variations within the seemingly constant sigh. For the ocean is never isolated. It communes with the sand, the air, the myriad lives teeming within its depths. Thus, its voice, while often appearing monotonous, stands poised for transformation. A mere whisper of altered wind, like a conductor's subtle gesture, can reshape the symphony, roughening the waves to a crescendo before lulling them back to quietude. And then, the sound shifts anew, in nuances profound and mysterious, understood perhaps only by the denizens of this liquid world. High overhead, tracing slow arcs against the blue, soared Kalin, a gull intimately familiar with the ocean's moods and melodies. He scanned the waters, gauging the waves, anticipating the precise instant to plunge towards a piscine meal. Calm water, clear skies, ideal conditions for spotting prey near the surface. With vision sharp enough to span miles, Kalin's aerial vantage point promised success. His quest was driven by hunger, not just his own, but that of newly hatched fledglings nestled on a nearby cliff face, watched over by Lyra. She was more than the mother of his brood. She was his partner for life, a bond rare in the animal kingdom. Kalin hoped for fish, easily carried, or perhaps the tougher prize of clams or mussels. These required ingenuity, dropping the stubborn shells from height onto unforgiving rock until they yielded their succulent interiors. A worthwhile effort for such delectable fare. Drifting further along the coast, Kalin's gaze remained locked on the water below. Suddenly, movement, a flicker of color beneath the surface, arrested his attention. Pale, silvery forms, he knew them instantly. A sharp cry of discovery pierced the air. Directly beneath him, an immense school of fish pulsed, a bounty sufficient not just for his own family, but for the entire colony. Moments later, drawn by his exultant calls, fellow gulls converged, their own expressive squawks joining his, filling the air with a clamorous chorus. On pellucid days like this, their calls traveled far, echoing along the coastline for miles. Though known for their boisterous nature, gulls employ sound with purpose. These intelligent, highly social birds utilize a complex repertoire of vocalizations and body language to connect. Communication begins even before hatching, a faint peeping from within the egg soliciting parental care. The parent gulls respond with gentle, mewing calls, a form of avian baby talk. Courtship sounds are similarly soft, contrasting sharply with the loud, trumpeting calls reserved for territorial disputes or asserting dominance. Humans might attempt translation, "This space is mine," or cries of joy. Yet the true, subtle intricacies of their dialogue remain a secret held solely by the birds themselves. This gathering flock now alternated between excited chattering and long, plaintive cries, anticipating the feast. Soon, others would join, but the immediate reward belonged to the spotter. Kalin had seen them first. He waited, poised, until the fish shimmered clearly just beneath the waves, then commenced his swift descent. down, down, down he plunged towards the surface. Gulls breached the water, but briefly, just long enough to snatch their quarry before soaring skyward once more. This fleeting intrusion offered relief to the fish swimming deeper. Down here, tranquility reigned. Fish moved with languid grace, some barely stirring, allowing the gentle currents to sway them like underwater pendulums. Venturing further from shore into the sun-dappled shallows, a majestic coral reef materialized. Sunlight streamed through the water, dappling the intricate structures with shifting, luminous patterns. Tiny, iridescent gobies flickered through the vast, golden architecture, while larger, vividly hued fish drifted past with serene, slow-motion elegance. The reef dwellers wore every color imaginable, from fiery orange to electric sapphire. As they navigated the coral labyrinth, some moved in utter silence, others emitted hushed, almost imperceptible noises. Bubbles escaped from some, rising with soft, popping sounds. Others sent delicate swishes through the water, with supple flicks of their tails. Yet these were quiet, incidental sounds, vastly different from the gull's constant, communicative clamor. Initially, each fish seemed encased in its own silent bubble, gliding past others, sometimes separated by less than a fin's breadth, yet seemingly oblivious. They resembled focused commuters during rush hour, intent on their paths, blind to fellow travelers. But this apparent detachment belied a deeper reality. Fish communicate through a myriad of channels. Silent methods include electrical pulses and the release of pheromones. Light and color serve as signals during courtship, with some species flashing lights or altering their hues. For coordinated movement, body language is paramount. Fish react instantaneously to each other's gestures, enabling vast, synchronized schools to travel safely and forage efficiently. However, the most prevalent communication method for most marine life is sound, which travels even faster underwater than through air. A thriving coral reef, therefore, teems not just with color, but with a hidden symphony of sound. A brilliant blue fish, Azureus, circled the reef, emitting a soft, purring vibration. This male sought a mate, hoping his call would capture the attention of nearby females. Again and again, he repeated the purring sequence as he swam. The sound originated from his swim bladder, contracting and vibrating to produce the low buzz. Other fish generated noise by grinding teeth or snapping jaws. Herring possess a peculiar method, releasing high-frequency gas bubbles, a seemingly unconventional tactic that allows shoals to maintain cohesion in darkness. Fish perceive sound differently than humans. Vibrations detected by their inner ears carry messages, mating calls, warnings, social cues. A dominant clownfish, for instance, snaps her jaw, producing chirps and pops that assert her status. Some deep-sea dwellers croak in deep baritones, serenading potential mates kilometers away. The meanings of countless other sounds remain obscure, perhaps marine equivalents of songs, shouts, or chants. Their true significance might forever remain a secret, whispered only amongst the fish. Scientists strive to decipher this underwater language, cataloging the mysterious sounds of the sea. Plans exist for a comprehensive digital archive, the global library of underwater biological sounds, playfully acronymed GLUBS, to monitor everything from humming fish to squeaking manatees. Perhaps some fish even communicate with glubs, alongside their purrs and croaks. The ocean holds countless intriguing sounds yet unheard. Beyond the reef, further from the coast, another lively conversation unfolded. Two bottlenose dolphins, Corelia and her daughter Nami, exchanged exuberant clicks and whistles as they sliced through the luminous water. This mother-daughter pair explored together, hunting fish. Like their prey, dolphins employ diverse communication methods. Tail slaps or forceful exhalations through blowholes often signal warnings, while synchronized swimming expresses solidarity. They convey messages through bubble clouds and breathtaking aerial leaps. And then, of course, there are the sounds. Coralia and Nami maintained constant, noisy contact through high-pitched whistles. They could identify each other by sound alone, even at a distance. Every bottlenose dolphin develops a unique signature whistle. A mother vocalizes hers during pregnancy, tutoring the unborn calf. The young dolphin then spends its first year refining its own distinct call, influenced by the adults in its pod. Once perfected, this personal acoustic signature serves for identification, information sharing, and social interaction throughout its life. A personal theme song echoing through the ocean. As the pair spiraled downwards, Corelia emitted her signature whistle, a long, vibrating squeak resonating through the water. Nami responded, not with her own call, but with a flawless imitation of her mother's. This affectionate mimicry, rare in nature, hints at the unique, profound bonds within dolphin families. The connection between mother and calf is exceptionally close and enduring. Nami would remain by Coralia's side for several more years, learning vital survival skills. Even after independence, she would stay within the pod, occasionally rejoining her mother for swims. For now, though, they were inseparable. Deeper they plunged, whistling lovingly, entwined in a graceful underwater ballet. Reaching their limit, they turned back towards the light, towards the familiar company of their pod. As mother and calf ascended, their joyful clicks gradually diminished, fading into silence for the creatures inhabiting the lower depths. Quietude settled, yet not complete silence. A new sound emerged, a melodic moan, growing steadily in volume. This was the song of Boreas, a humpback whale. The adult male swam in peaceful solitude, performing haunting vocalizations that could stretch for 20 minutes or more. His song, a low, ethereal resonance, carried for hundreds of miles. Its beauty was captivating, its enigmatic nature even more so. The precise purpose behind these lengthy, complex compositions remains a mystery to scientists. The songs often feature multiple sections or phrases with varying frequencies and volumes, repeated cyclically, sometimes for days. Humpback whales compose and perform intricate songs on loop, for reasons not fully understood. Are they mating calls, territorial declarations, or perhaps, like humans, do they create music simply for the pleasure it brings? Whatever the motivation, The whales sing throughout their lives. These extraordinary melodies evolve over time. One whale might even share its song with another, unrelated individual who learns parts of the harmony, a marine form of cultural exchange, one whale adopting phrases from another's repertoire. Boreas continued his slow, plaintive song as he ascended. Even as he neared the surface, the water remained dark. Night had fallen. Silvery moonlight barely penetrated the ocean's skin. Peace reigned, the whale's song the only distinct sound in the vast quiet. His harmonies swelled, then finally ceased. Even his powerful voice needed respite, time for rest, for air. Slowly, majestically, Boreas broke the surface, his great head emerging above the gentle waves. He drew a deep breath of the cool night air through his blowhole. Unlike humans, whales are conscious breathers. The act requires deliberate intent. Thus, instead of sleeping in the abyss, he would nap near the surface, close to the vital air. Sleeping habits differ among whale species. Sperm whales doze vertically in pods beneath the surface, appearing to sleep standing upright. Boreas, weary from his long journey and equally long performance, felt drowsiness descend. Floating at the surface, he closed an eye, finally succumbing to rest. Tonight, tranquility blanketed the ocean. Boreas's song had ended. The dolphin pod slumbered near the shallows. Fish rested amidst the moon-kissed coral. On the cliff overlooking the darkened coast, Kaelin, Lyra, and their fledglings huddled together in their nest, deep asleep. The sole remaining sound was the ocean's own breath, the soothing rhythm of the waves. The tide crept slowly inward, washing over the shore, spilling onto the sand, then receding. In, then out, in, then out. As if the sea itself drew deep, calming breaths, lulling its marvelous inhabitants into profounder sleep with every gentle surge